Hello and welcome to the Flooring Models Friday catch-up show. Here we are with you on the 8th of March 2024. Really good week this week. Taking care of lots of different things, lots of 3D printing. We've done a review. We finished off the actual V25, which I've just totally fallen in love with and love this aircraft and can build another one tomorrow. Had a lot of fun. Plus, in fact, a few other little bits and pieces we've been getting on with as well. Anyway, all started on Monday. Part 10, the V25 went up. Again, the next part 10 and part 11 are almost an hour long, purely because I didn't want to break it up. The flow was going. It's all sort of done live, as you know. So in this particular part, we were talking about the weathering. So we were going through, obviously, making sure we've got everything tucked down. We've got those decals finally in and everything that's working well. And then it was a case of, right, in with chipping. So usual thing with me, I do like sponge chipping. I know there's lots of different options out there. So you could obviously, if you wanted to, you could use obviously chipping fluids. You can just use pencils for it. There's, loads of different ways. Freehand it if you're really clever. Me, I prefer the good old fashioned sponge technique. So it is that thing. I use a little bit of cardboard just to take a little bit of the paint off. So it's almost like dry brushing it on. That way you get lighter chips and you can build them up. I just find it gets a little bit, if I do it normally, I get a bit carried away and everything just turns to metal. So this way I get lighter, finer chips all the way through. So again, going through, as you can see, starting the chipping process right the way over it. And it looks great on this particular colour. When you're working with olive drab, and obviously we've done a faded olive drab for this, it works very, very well right the way through. So that's the chipping going on, usual areas as well, leading edges, things like that. It's going to pick it up a lot more. Plus the fact we've got some sort of flack areas and various things as well that might have taken the paint off. Scuffs and scrapes, as you might imagine, right the way over. With all that done, it's time to get on with some oils. Now, oils is the bit for me where it really comes alive. You can hide some of your mistakes under oils and you can make things pop as well and show a lot more with oils. So again, it's a nice little medium to work with. So usual thing for me, went along using obviously the primary colour set. So we're using yellow to fade the green. All right, so that just changes it completely. So we've already faded the paint a little bit, as you know, but now we really want to work at it as well. So two-stage process. First of all, we go in with a yellow and we buff it. And as you can see around these areas, it really lightens it up right the way through. So that's working very, very well. Then we come in with some buff. Now, the idea of using a buff colour is really just to sort of blend things together. So if the green is a little bit too light, I can darken it a little bit. Also, it's going to give it the worn look. The great thing about using a sort of buff color, it neutralizes everything. So it doesn't matter if you're using it over a green, a gray, a brown, even a black. It will just neutralize it and make it look sort of old and dusty and things like that. So that's basically what we did. So he's going around and doing that. And then last up for me, I like to post shade these days with oils. So again, by using a little bit of a sharp edge on a brush, we just track it along all the panel lines and then we just buff. And then that way we come along like this. So we can accentuate some of these panel lines and all the various bits into this one. It works very, very well all the way through. And again, a little bit later on, you'll see we do some other things with it as well. So then we put on some smoke and some staining and use you a little light weathering and things like that right the way through. So anyway, that takes care of that. That gets you up to date. You can go off now, members. You can see all about that one. Don't forget, you can get all the photos in high res as well on there. And obviously it is now, it's got little chapters. So you've got your timelines down in here, like at 37 minutes 15, we use oil paints to post shade. And around the panel lines and details. So yes, I've done all things like that now just to make it a little bit easier, and when you watch the video it's chaptered as well, so you can skip ahead to wherever you want. On Tuesday it was a Fuller Max show. Obviously we were talking about what we're working on at the moment, so the various things we were up to. So obviously I was talking about the V25, having literally just finished it off, so we were having a look at that one just down in there. Matt was talking about all things figure painted. He's done a 3D printed figure and then he used a aftermarket head, if I remember rightly, on that one as well. So something very nice with him, as you can see. So he's been working with, again, 3D printing, a lot of stuff, but again, as we were saying, the limitations of 3D printing as well comes ahead. So again, by using heads from other sources and things like that, as you might imagine, plus the fact we're answering sort of your questions. We were talking about what's going on, what's new in the industry. I was talking about 3D printed cockpits, like Quinta Studios ones, and how I'm a massive fan of them, and I don't see it as cheating because I cannot do that. Physically I cannot do that. So again, know your limitations. If you're a fantastic hand painter and all the rest of it, you could get in and do that. I can't, so that's why I literally just go down the 3D printed route for these cockpits these days, because I just find the level of detail is just off the chart. And that's one I did a few years ago now, which was when we was working on the F-15. This is the Tamiya 32nd scale F-15 that we did. There we go. You can go off and see all the builds of these if you wanted to as well. Plus the fact we were talking about all other things as well. We're talking about weathering the Mosquito and how difficult it is, as say, like doing airliners and things. Very, very difficult to weather some aircraft. Other aircraft, naturally, with riveting and panel lines, are very easy to work with. But, you know, things like ships, submarines, that type of thing as well, notoriously difficult. So we were talking all things along there. Plus the fact the latest kit releases, which is coming out as well. So we've got the Stug G, as we were talking down there and saying about, it's got the great stowage equipment and all the stuff with it as well. And a few other little releases that we were talking about as well. So if you want to catch up with that show, it is free to watch. Anyone can watch that. Just click over and you can catch that one now. Tuesday, it was the vlog for just the members. So I was talking, obviously, all things, you know, literally same thing, what I was up to at the moment. So we were talking about 3D printing, how that works, how it all comes together, and obviously having a look at what's going to be, well, with you next week now, I think. So again, cleaning up all the 3D printed parts, getting those all ready and talking through all of that. And we were looking really just a bit of a cap at the build ahead and some of the problems I've had with it as well, like doing reprints and stuff like that. And as you can see, so right the way down in here, we were talking all about that one as well. So if you want to catch up with that one, members, you can do. That's the Wednesday show up with you now. Thursday, obviously, members, you got early access to the reviews as always. And again, we were talking about all things, you know, sort of 3D printed. I was working on that. But also we were talking about the actual kit itself and how legendary, obviously, Hasegawa kits are. What I love about this kit, what I hate about it, and a little bit of extra information from what you're going to get in the review for the members as well, plus the fact a few questions and answers and stuff like that on the show as well. So if you want to catch up with that one, members, you can do it as well. That went up with you yesterday, and that brings us bang up to today. So finally, after, well, part 11, it should actually be a 13-parter, but I sort of doubled up some of the parts because I think it makes it a little bit more easier to sort of view. But definitely, so part 11 concludes the build of the fantastic HK Models 148 scale B25J. It hasn't been a straightforward build. The build was, the decals are a pain, but yeah, the rest of it actually all fell together and it was very nice. But anyway, we continued along. So we were talking about other weathering. So we were talking about streaks and stains and all things like that. Again, done with neat oils right the way over it and blended those in, and then we went around and did a few details. Then we were using thinned oil washes as a filter, so we were filtering them right over certain areas like panel lines and that, and bearing in mind this is covered in oils. So there's a few little tips and tricks that I showed you doing this particular one so it doesn't start running everywhere and letting go. But again, you can do some nice weathered looks down into these, as you see as they dry back, some sort of leaks and stains look to it right the way over, which I think worked really well, especially on the underside with the grey. You get this sort of gnarliness sort of appearing in there like that. Again, you can see then we did a rocks all around the sort of engine, the cells down in here, and the various bits underneath works really, really well. Then we did the props. So usual technique for the props, there's a separate video for that one, which is up there as well. So we got those installed and fitted onto it and really looking good. Then we went along and we did a little bit of 3D printing because technically the guns are a little bit pants in the kit. So we upgraded those. It's a free file off the internet. So we grabbed those, rescaled them and printed them off in 148 scale for the guns. And they turned out mega. Again, the trouble, well, I'm being tight. I didn't want to pay 38 quid for a load of brass ones for this. So we printed them off and it probably cost no more than 5p in resin to do that. So yeah, easy job. So nice fix. So bombs installed, all the aerials, all the bits and pieces getting down there. We've got all the guns installed into it, obviously fully unmasked and everything, all came together. Had a little bit of dust inside the cockpit, so we stuck the airbrush up in there at 30 psi and blew it out. Luckily I didn't take all the glass with it, but it all worked a treat. All right, so right the way through. As always with all my glass work, it's only PVA glued, so if it had gone horrendously wrong, we could have just taken it off, dusted it off, wiped it out and put it back on. But luckily a little bit of blast of air took care of that and it cleaned those up, no problem at all. Then we got the lights installed onto it. Again, really nice fit with those. We got all of those. You can see the weathering as well, really coming alive. And those decals now, once they're weathered and beaten in, no problem with those at all. Looking very good. And that literally completed the build right the way through. Again, had an absolute blast with this kit. Really nice. It's a nice scale. It's got as much detail as I would want without going overboard. And again, with this one, we just use the zoom set. So it's got a zoom cockpit into it, which you can see, which I'm glad I did. The only thing I'm sort of wish I'd done now is perhaps put a crew in it, because it is all glass. You can all see it in here. So it would be nice to have a crew in it, but you could say it's on the ground and powered down. I am going to do a little bit of a base for it as well. So that will be coming along. And again, as always on the site, we've got the high res photos. So if you want to have a look and a good detailed look at it close up, you can come along to the actual Floyd Models site. It is free to look at, and you can come in and see all the photos right the way through. But hopefully you agree, she turned out very, very nicely. I was trying to do this one sort of, you know, with the in the Australian markings, the sort of Belize area, things like that, as this one flew, and where they faded down and got very wet a lot. So that's the sort of scheme I was going for, with the dirt and grime and fadedness of it and everything else like that. But again, highly recommend the kit. It is a fantastic kit. So if you do fancy yourself a B25, honestly, I'd go for this one. It's a really, really nice, straightforward build. As I spoke about earlier, up with you in the review section. Just click onto the site, go to reviews, and say there's thousands of reviews in here now of kits and tools and everything else. All right, so just click in there, and we've got up the review for the actual Corsair. Now, this kit was first released in 1987. Wow. So again, for a kit that's approaching 40 years old, it's doing very well. I'm actually thinking that, you know, at the end of the day, is that it's still better than anything that's been released since. So obviously the Hobby Boss one and stuff like that, this one is still better for it. And then again, this is the original boxing, so you can actually do the little slough as well. So you can do the Air Force version as well as the Navy and Marine Corps one. So again, if you do want to get it, it's a good kit because you've got all options. So say you've got Navy, and you've got markings down in there as well for the Air Force markings, Navy markings as well. The sort of all over sort of grey one, as well as the sort of contemporary gold grey and white. Decals are good as always with them right the way through. The only thing I did say, and I did point out in here, you can see it on the actual the moulds itself. The moulds are looking a little bit tired, as in worn. There's some scratching into the moulds and stuff like that. Again, when you normally look at Hasegawa kits, and I remember this kit back in the day, it's like a mirror. Their moulds are polished so well. But this one's just showing its age. It's a little bit tired. There's a little bit of flash on the kit these days, but nothing that would put you off and nothing that's a problem. It's really, really straightforward. But again, very, very nice kit. It goes together well. You get a pilot figure, you get nice pylons, you get the sway braces for the pylons. So you got the bits for the E down there, you got the bits for the F, you got bits for the D. You got multiple ejector racks, we got sidewinders, you got sway braces. To be honest, it's got tons and tons of deal on this particular one. It's a really, really nice kit, including a little bit of photo etch. Unfortunately, no, PM Models is currently out of stock. So if you can grab one, seriously, think about grabbing one, because it's one of those ones, it ages timelessly in your stash. It's not going to get outdated anytime soon, because everybody who's tried it so far has made a right hash of it, including bad intakes and cockpits and stuff like that. This particular one isn't bad at all. So if you do fancy having a go, then highly recommend doing that kit. And to be honest with you, I'm going to build it. It's going to be my sort of nostalgia build, I think, for this year, because as I say, I like doing the older stuff. And to this my mind, though, it's not even old. It's a great kit. And if you watch some of our live shows recently, I showed some of the photos of the ones that I've done over the years as well. So it'd be nice to redo that one, perhaps with a shark's mouth on it, like I did my original ones. So anyway, that is up there on there now. Don't forget, you can catch up with all our shows and the bits and pieces we do. Just pop over to the floydmodels.org site. If you come in here, you'll be driven down into here. We've got lots of other things going on. We've got all your reviews down in here. We've got all your merch and the various stuff going on as well. So if you want to catch up with anything as well, just pop down in here. Just click on your vlogs, click on reviews. If you want to go reviews of all the other stuff we've done, there's tons of it in here. I have got to go back in and spend probably a day updating this, because I haven't transferred some of them over to the actual manufacturer's areas. All right, but they are all down in here. And don't forget, the search does work well. Just click on the search down in here, type in what you want, and then hopefully I'll have full details of it will come up on the site for you, just like that. Thank you to all the orders. Obviously, last weekend when we had our little bit of a sale on, you absolutely blew us away with everything that was going on, and because of that, I've left the sale running on the merch. So again, if you do fancy a polo shirt or a t-shirt or the apron or the mugs or the hoodies, you can grab those right now as well. I put these back into stock, and the 3D printer will be fired up over the weekend again to do some more of the glue holders and the pot holders. So if you do fancy getting some of those, you can get those right now as well. All right, and again, the mug is up on a special price of just £7.99 plus VAT, which I think is about £8.50, or no, £9.50. So if you want to grab one of those, you can do now. Remember, off the Flory site here, off of me, it's free shipping on all orders over £10. All right. Don't forget, if you're in the EU, just pop in here, click on here, and you can pop over to the florymodels.eu store, which is currently with Brevco, as you can see. And again, you can pop down in here and you can pop your order in with them, and they'll ship it out to you very, very speedy by the lovely Kareen. All right. And Kareen will be on with us next week. So if you've got any questions, you can ask her then. All right, so lots of stuff down in there. Also, over on the PM store, lots of bits and pieces going on at the moment. So again, on the special offers, some of this Hasegawa stuff we've managed to get in. Again, some legendary kits, and I've been lucky enough to build a lot of these. So we've done the Starfighter, it's a fantastic kit. I've done the Draken, that's a beautiful kit. And again, we've spoken about the Skyhawks, they are just legendary and great. And another very much a firm favourite of mine is the Crusader. So again, if you fancy the Crusader, it's down there. And we spoke about on a recent show as well. We talked about, and I showed you my F86 Sabre. So again, if you fancy any of those ones, grab them now. They are a little bit limited. Hasegawa is a little bit of a problem getting it in. So when it's in, you sort of grab it because it might not be for a while. So again, like I've pointed out, these will look great in your stash. The other one as well, the Freedom Tiger, we've got a couple on special offers. We had a few left over from a recent offer that we did with the members. So we got a few that didn't come through. So if you want to get one of those as well, beautiful kit. Don't forget, it's the AFV F5. So it's a beautiful, beautiful kit. I've got the original boxing of it over there, which still keeps winking at me. And I'll get around to building it one day. But if you do fancy it, obviously that comes with fantastic marking options and everything you could want down in there as well. Book section as well. So we've got more books in as well. We've got some of the big frequently asked question books. We've shown these a lot as well. You've seen me, obviously, they're like huge big Bibles, and they are really, really good. Not cheap, but it's got everything, anything you could want. Plus the fact some of the other smaller ones as well. So we've got the one on the metallics and things like that as well, and modelling from scratch. And then all the other books down in here, as you can see, some really nice options down in there. We've got the Phantom one in as well, with the British version as well now. So if you want to grab that, and any other books as well. Again, something we will be expanding and keeping a lot more in stock in the future, or hopefully this year. So keep an eye out down in that area. The other thing as well we've managed to get in is some Tamiya weathering sets. So again, my OCD hates this because Andy hasn't put set on the bottom. He needs to do that because it's written differently to the other. Anyway, the weathering sets, or as I like to call them, makeup. But again, they do work, and I must admit I've got this one and the back one as well. So I've got both of those. I've got D and E, but if you do want any of the other ones, they are in stock as well. So if you fancy doing some light weathering, especially great for heated effects and stuff like that, then obviously your weathering sets are down in there as well. We've had big restocks again of paint, various things have come in as well. So if you want to grab any of those, obviously the SMS range continues to expand, things like that, as we're being able to get them in. So if you want to get any of those ones in the usual bit, just pop over to the pmmodels.com store and you can grab all your bits and pieces from them just down in there. And that was this week. Apart from, on top of that, I was doing loads of 3D work as well with the Y-Wing. So what I've got down in here in front of me is a 3D printed all bagged now. I've been very good. You know how Lego does it? I do it as well. So when I do 3D printed and resin stuff, I always then get some zip bags and put all the parts for each section I'm working on in there. So that way you just don't have a million parts to sort of rustle through and go through. But this will obviously be taking place next week. We're going to be putting this one together. Again, this is sort of a test build for me. If it works out really well, which no reason it won't, but if it does go together quite well, what I'm probably going to do is revisit this and do the full size version, which is massive. It's twice as big as this one that I'm doing, and I'm probably going to put some lights in it and LEDs and things like that, maybe even a sound set. So again, this is one of my things where I'm just working with this 3D file at the moment, seeing what we've got. I've got this one, I've got the A-wing, and I've got the B-wing as well, and they're all monsters. So yeah, something I'll be doing on screen. This one's going to be on screen, and then the other ones will be slow burner ones off screen as well as we do those. But next week I'm going to be pushing into this one. We're going to be getting this one somewhat together, which won't take probably more than a day to get all this together and everything else, and then we can think about painting and weathering and going through the things like that. And at the same time, I've got just over there, which I've got the cockpit set, should be with me on Monday or Tuesday next week. For the actual Meng Apache. So we're going to be starting on that one as well. So we've been doing a lot of old stuff recently. We've been doing a sort of, you know, interwar biplane, as in the Tiger Moth. That's just finished. The B-25 now is finished off. So now we're actually going to be focusing something a little bit more modern and something a little bit futuristic as well as we make our way through on this year. Don't forget, end of the month as well, we've got a special coming up. So we've got a special Easter show. So I'm going to be building the which one is it? Sword 2-seat Lightning. as well. So going to be building that one as part of a series of live shows that will run probably Thursday to Sunday as well on that one. So if you want to keep up with those ones, keep your ear to the ground, and we will be back with you. Anyway, that's about it from me for this week. Thank you very much for watching, as always. I'm going to leave you now with a great work from the gallery. So until Monday, everybody, happy modelling. Take care.
I was not ready to falling like I'm wasted. My heart grows heavy. Don't taste me rushing. Keep your words naked. You got me blushing. And you forever I'll follow. You'll be my holy ground. You forever I'll follow. In immortality, I can see you and me free. In immortality, I can see you and me free. You left me crying and running through a ghost town, alone and stranded. Why leave me hoping and guessing for the answer?